the Practical Sportsman. And we'll do it all together with the Practical Sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. It's Thursday night, September 23rd, time for the weekly meeting of the Practical Sportsman Club. Fishing is good in the summer, we all know that, but did you know that fishing gets even better for many species of fish in September? We fished last September in Little Bay de Noc with walleye pro Mark Schultz. We started out catching everything but walleye. Smallmouth bass and pike were really hitting well. Stay tuned, that story is coming up. The sunrise is always beautiful on Little Bay de Noc, which is at the northwestern end of Lake Michigan and Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Now, this scene was taken in 1998. That's when there was still lots of water in the bay. This year, the water's at least 1.5 feet lower in Lake Michigan, which makes boating risky for people who don't know the reefs and shallow spots, especially within a half mile of shore. Our guide today was walleye pro Mark Schultz. Mark knows the shoals and shallows and rocks and pilings of this bay, so he can wind up his Ranger walleye boat to 50 miles an hour with confidence, but that's not recommended in 1999 for most fishermen. The water's too low, and one rock can tear the outboard off your transom.
Today we're using 1/4 ounce jigs with the gold hooks for a little flash. Then we're using 4 and 5 inch sucker minnows. Basically your forage this time of year is pretty large. You don't have any more small perch or fatheads are pretty much done spawning. So these hold up pretty good on a hook. Just have to let the walleyes take it a little while. They suck it in.
There we go.
And, see if we can't get a walleye instead of a smallmouth bass.
Now, why are we using sucker minnows instead of shiners?
I like using suckers. They hold up better.
Okay.
You know, a little more durable. Shiners give you a little more flash and they might work a little better if you can keep them alive. You know, the water's been warm. Water's still almost 70 degrees, even for this time of year, and they don't hold up well.
Now, what type of area are we fishing? What's underneath us?
We're fishing, there's 3 reefs out here, and they're pretty much shale. And then in between there'll be some mud and some weeds. So we just keep, what we started was going over the humps. We're just trying to hit the tips, go up and down and up and down. And you can feel your hook bounce on the shale, get hung up once in a while.
Now, how deep water is it though, to the top of the reef?
Top of the reef's about 10 foot.
Okay, and then down
And
below?
then it'll taper out to 19, 20 feet, and then it turns to mud. And then you have one big mud basin out here.
Okay.
And the walleyes will scatter over the mud too. You know, we'll look for those a little later.
So just a matter of finding them.
Just finding them.
Being a walleye pro, Mark wanted to catch walleye, but on Saturday morning, we mainly caught smallmouth bass. Now, that wasn't in the playbook.
Yeah, I think we got a walleye.
No, smallmouth.
Yeah, but it's a nice one.
A nice small one.
You gotta like this. Boy, they're pretty bass up there. Nice dark and
A little bit of shoulders on them.
oh yeah.
You want me to grab that for you, Fred?
Oh, I think I can get it. Hey, I've seen the bass fishing shows. I know how they do this.
But you gotta walk it around the boat though.
Yeah,
Then you gotta kiss it.
yeah. From behind the camera, Matt Radzalowski is always trying to get me to kiss the bass the way the Southern boys do it on the bass fishing shows before they toss their bass back. Well, frankly, I much prefer to keep the bass and lick my lips as I eat the pan-fried fillets, but I'll toss this one back. Mark uses one of his live wells just for minnows because he frequently uses minnows for catching walleye, even in tournaments. But we were ready to go with crankbaits or night crawlers or whatever the fish would hit. Mark took us over prime walleye habitat in 14 feet of water where we caught bass.
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 Smallmouth. Oh, it's a fish. We broke the ice.
Just that big minnow?
Yep. Smallie.
One thing I've learned is that walleye pros are walleye pros and bass pros are bass pros. They like catching their preferred species, and while catching something else is fun, it's a disappointment to them because it's not what they're after.
That's a nice fish.
Yeah.
Well, it sure is. Wow. Oh, boy, that's one chunky bass.
That's a nice one there, Fred.
That's a heavy-bodied baby.
About 2-pounder.
Man, that is a nice one.
Live well?
That's very impressive.
No, unless you want them. I don't use them.
them back.
Well, actually, I wanted to keep it, but it's not really what we were after.
That's an impressive fish.
With all these smallmouth around hitting near the surface, we decided to try casting crankbaits.
Are there pike in that grass in there? It's always looked to me going along Bay to Knock when you see how that.
I really couldn't tell you, to be honest. I would assume there would be.
Again, Mark goes for walleye, not pike.
Oh, boy, did he smoke that.
He gave me a shower.
Yeah, oh, and he's gone.
Oh, gee.
He's gone, yeah.
Wow.
Did he want that?
What, did you just about have that in the
It was right at the boat. I mean, I was just going to pick it up, and he just literally hammered it.
How big was it? Did you see it?
25, 30 inches. You know, it was a nice fish. He wanted it. The 6-pound test just doesn't quite hold up.
A pike.
Oh, wee! Okay. Oh, this is cool.
Walleye, smallmouth bass, northern pike, hey, it doesn't matter to me. I like eating them all if they're from cold, clear water.
Doesn't look like it's hooked very well. Nurse him in. Now he'll come alive. There's the hook. Came out.
All right. That's the best part.
Yeah. So what do you think about pike?
What do I think about pike?
You like to eat them?
If somebody else wants to clean them,
Oh,
they're good eating.
Well, a lot of fishermen don't like to handle pike because of their excessive slime.
grape flavored lures. Now this one is slimy. Holy cow! In fact, it kind of doo-dooed on me right there. Well, this is a 24-inch measure ruler, and it's over 24. It's about 25, 26. Put them in a live well and fillet them up. Okay, big walleye, check this out. Whoa! Now that's going to be a respectable live well.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
Well, I love eating fresh fish, and I enjoy catching all kinds of fish. They don't have to be big either for me to have fun catching them.
Oh, he's a whopper, too.
He is I'd call him a cheeseburger. I tell you, every time you get your hand in their mouth, there we go. No, he's not real big, but I tell you, they really get cranking on the fighting. You know, they're getting smaller. Every fish is getting smaller.
Look how much bigger he is
Look
now.
how much bigger. Here he goes.
Late September in Little Bay de Noc, just as in many cold water lakes, everybody can catch smallmouth bass. It's a good time to fish. Walleye pro Mark Schultz showed us some good walleye as well as pike and bass. If you've got a pretty place to fish with company you enjoy, I can't imagine a better experience. We were up in the Bay de Noc area last weekend, not to fish, but to participate in the Marbles Polychoke Shoot, the Sporting Clays tournament. I lucked out again. This time I got first place in Class B. Tell you about that on a future show. By the way, last week on Thursday night, in fact, throughout the entire week, programming was preempted on most public TV stations for a special they were running all week long. So Practical Sportsman wasn't on most public TV stations last Thursday night. I would like those viewers to see a couple of the things that were on last week's show. So if you weekend viewers would pardon me, I want to take a few minutes to show them what they missed. I want to take a minute here to talk about guns jamming. What is the cause? On the opening day of goose season, September 1st, twice this gun jammed on my second shot. I mean, I say the gun jammed. What really happened? Well, right now this shoots 3.5-inch 12-gauge magnums. I'm going to put the third one in there. I'm going to take a couple shots and see if it'll jam again. Well, this time it jammed the first time. It didn't even let me get the second shot off. Now, I tried to get that shell out of there. That's the spent shell, the one that just went off. Can't do it. So both times I had to get my Leatherman out, grab it, pinch the end, and pull it out before the next shell would be seated. Now, the question is that I had, why is it that I had so much trouble getting this shell out of the chamber? What is the deal here? Is this shell longer than other shells? Well, I compared this shell, and this happened to be a Federal steel BB. I compared it with some other brands, and I found out this shell was actually a little bit longer, which made me question. If it says 3.5 inches on the box, and it says 3.5 inches on the shell, why aren't all the shells 3.5 inches? What about the ones that say 3 inches on the box and 3 inches on the shell, and then the one we commonly use, 2 3/4 inch shells on the box and on the shell itself? Well, I decided to measure these shells, which I did. I was a little surprised at the result. What do you think? Are these shells, as they come out of the box, are they 3.5 inches? Are you getting a 2 3/4 inch shell when you take it out of the box? Put a measuring tape to it or a yardstick. Check it out, and next week we're going to talk about this. Tim Farragon has been growing and cultivating and harvesting vegetables from his large country garden in Langsburg for many, many years. Each year, the deer have gotten bolder and hungrier, and this year they crossed a line into the tomato patch that Tim is not at all happy about. This has got to be one of the most pathetic corn patches I have ever seen, Tim Farragon.
Sure is.
And what was the problem this year?
Deer. Last year it was deer.
Yeah, but last year you got some corn.
13 ears.
And what'd you get this year?
Probably 10.
Oh, well, that's not bad. What have they been doing to the corn?
Well, they start right out eating it when it first comes up. Then when it starts getting near, they just grab the ear, pull plant and all right out of the ground.
That's why there's so few stalks through here?
Right.
And what do they do when they grab the ear?
Bite the end off.
The end, like that. I'll be darned. They take the end off and they eat the cob too?
Yep. Cob and all.
On half of it?
On half.
Now, how do you know that they're doing this other than the evidence like their teeth marks?
I see them every night. Every night.
I'll be darned. Well, why is it that on this end there seems to be more stalks up here, and the same way with the sunflowers? I mean, you have a pretty decent crop of sunflowers there, but about here where we're standing, it just goes all to heck.
It just seems to be where they're crossing into the hayfield right here.
Huh. And so they eat everything south of here.
Everything south.
What's with all these weeds? Are you an organic gardener?
Well, when you don't have no corn, why waste gas?
On your rototiller.
On the rototiller.
So what have they done to the sunflowers themselves?
They eat everything. They start right out when they start coming up, and they just eat. In fact, you can see plants right now down there where they've eat all the leaves and there's nothing but a stalk growing.
Huh. Now that's kind of an interesting story, because historically deer would eat corn to some degree.
Yep.
But sunflowers?
They used to eat the leaves, but they let the plant go up. Now they eat everything. Nothing comes up.
They haven't done anything with your pumpkins, your cucumbers, all that?
Not yet.
Okay. And you say not yet because of the big story that's right down there in the tomato patch.
First year they've ever hit tomatoes. I haven't had a ripe tomato this year.
Not one
Not
tomato?
one tomato.
Let's take a look at this. You won't believe this. How many tomatoes did you plant?
What was it? 4 dozen.
4 dozen. 48. So here we are, 48 tomato plants. It's the 10th of September, when normally I'd be out here loading up bushels to can.
That's a fact.
I don't see one speck of red here.
They eat every one of them. They used to, well, when they first come on, they started eating when they got about the size of a tennis ball. And I guess they liked them so much, now they eat them all.
The tomatoes?
The tomatoes, the plant, it's unreal. I've never had it happen before.
Holy cow. So when they eat the plant, they work, well, like right over here. We have is that deer damage there?
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, down the way, looking at some of those, it's absolutely incredible. They eat the leaves, the stems, the green tomatoes.
Green tomatoes.
Do they ever let them get red?
One got almost red and they got that one.
No kidding. Do they eat the whole thing or just eat part of it or what?
Pretty much eat the whole thing.
So,
Once in a while you find one with a bite out of it laying on the ground, but they're just gone.
so Mr. Gardener, who spends gas money, rototiller, a lot of labor here all summer long and end up with nothing, what are you going to do now?
I'm going to eat venison.
Eat venison number one, but what are you going to do next year for your garden?
Probably try that new electric fence they've got out.
Huh.
Looks like a tape. Give that a try.
Well, that's something else. Who ever heard of deer eating tomatoes and do they bed down in it?
Well, yeah, you can see where they bed down in them. They like to smell them, I guess. They just lay in them and eat.
The new breed of whitetail.
New breed. But you can see right there. You can see a lot of where they just tore the tops right off of them.
Tim Farragon's tomato patch is a living actually a dying example of how deer are expanding their diets way beyond the normal menu for white-tailed deer. If you're a gardener, this could become a serious, not to mention expensive, problem in the years ahead. The rumor I heard about this week, and one that's going around especially in the Upper Peninsula, is that the DNR is giving out crop damage permit to farmers to shoot bears. In fact, Brian Bursema from Rapid River called me. He said that he had heard from a hot source that one farmer got 9 permits. And as of the date that he called me, which was just the other day, there were 2 of those bears taken on Wednesday, and one was taken on Thursday the 9th, maybe Friday the 10th. That's ahead of the bear season. Well, Brian was concerned that the DNR isn't solving this problem the right way. They ought to be giving out general permits to bear hunters, maybe just to hunt that farm. But, I mean, 9 permits? Well, Brian called me back a couple hours later. He said he talked to the DNR office, and his local DNR office told him that, yes, in fact, a farmer had been given 2 permits for crop damage because his cornfields were being ravaged by bears, and those permits were filled. They weren't given 9 permits. Plus, this was the first time that the DNR has ever issued permits for crop damage caused by bear. Well, the DNR guy also told Brian that he was the 4th call that day on this same issue. As far as the question going of issuing more hunting tags, Brian is writing to Tim Reese at the DNR about that. But the bottom line is, 2 crop damage permits were issued for bear to 1 farmer in the Gwinn area, not 9. These tags were immediately filled. The DNR says this was the only time crop damage permits have been issued for damages caused by bear. Now, this is the time of year when hunting and fishing conflict. I'm going to work in a little more fishing this fall than I have in previous years. Now, not too much, but it's only practical to grab a friend or a relative or a youngster and share some fall fishing when the fishing is really hot. That's being a practical sportsman. See you next week.
If somebody else wants to clean them, they're good eating.
Well, a lot of fishermen don't like to handle pike because of their excessive slime.
Great flavored lures. Now this one is slimy. Holy cow. In fact, it kind of doo-dooed on me right there. Well, this is a 24-inch measure ruler, and it's over 24. It's about 25, 26. Put them in a live well and fillet them up. Okay, big walleye, check this out. Whoa! Now that's going to be a respectable live well.
It's getting there.